Whose views should members of Congress represent when voting? Their own or their constituents?
I believe that Congress should represent their constituents when voting because their constituents are the ones that voted them in. And, if they voted them in for a reason, shouldn't they be loyal to their constituents by voting for what they would probably want?
What should the limits on the power of Congress be?
I think that Congress shouldn't be able to decide what people do in their own personal lives unless it's literally physically or emotionally hurting someone else. But if it's not hurting anybody and it's only bothering a few people but it isn't hurting them in any way, shape, or form, they shouldn't be able to control that.
Can and should the lawmaking process be improved?
I think it should. There are a lot of flaws in the lawmaking process, and a lot of laws that shouldn't exist do, and I think that if the lawmaking process were improved, then some laws that we really, really don't need wouldn't exist, and, life would be better without them.
Why does the Constitution provide for a bicameral legislature?
To be able to get a lot of different views on problems and pass laws with a better looking at things, and to just represent the people more as a whole than one single party could.
Describe the length and elective terms of members of the House of Representatives.
The number of representatives changes around every 10 years to keep new people coming in and old people from going out.
Especially when it's the end half.
Explain the qualifications for serving in the Senate.
To serve in the Senate, you need to be 30 years old or over, have been a citizen for around 9 years, exactly 9 years or up, and you need to have residence in the state that you're planning on serving.
Compare and contrast the state and the House of Representatives.
To be a senator, you have to be older than to be in the House of Representatives, and you need to have been a citizen for, I believe, 2 years longer to be a senator than to be in the House of Representatives, though for both you need to be a resident of the state you're planning on serving.
Describe how the federal government spends its money.
The federal government mostly focuses on military when it comes to spending money, and more domestic things are left with less and less money. And if there were to be more money for them, they would be better, and I don't think the military would suffer as much as more domestic things do.
Describe the Congress' expressed powers.
Foreign relations is one of the expressed powers that Congress has dealing with other countries and things like that. They also have the sole power to declare war. They can define what you need to do to become a citizen. They can choose whether or not to build a post office, and they can protect copyrights and patents, as well as having it so that we don't use the metric system and we use our own system of weighing and measuring.
Describe the Congress' power to impeach.
The Congress's power to impeach is that the House of Representatives is the only place. They have the sole power to impeach a president.
What are some of the officer positions in Congress?
There's the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the committee chairman, and a couple more.
Describe the duties and responsibilities of the House and Senate committees.
They focus on tasks that are big things. Depending on how big a thing is, depending on how long the committee will last. There are some that have been around for a long time, like since the creation of the United States. And then there are some that are temporary, that go with weeks or months at a time, and then they go.
Explain how a bill becomes a law in the House.
It needs to be approved by the House Rules Committee, which is a group of 13 members of the House.
What makes a successful Congress?
A successful Congress would be a Congress that does what it needs to do to keep everybody safe in the United States, but doesn't try to mess around with the personal lives of the people. They make rules to protect us, but they don't make rules that could possibly ruin someone's life or completely change their way of living.
Okay.